Okay, good evening everyone. Today we are going to talk about the two things. The first one is list and the second one is list comprehensions. Okay, so let us discuss about the first one, that is called list. Have you learned any other programming languages like C, C++, like Java? So if you observe this programming language, we have a common thing like array. We will have array. But in Python, we will call that array as like list. Actually, this list consists of a sequence of elements. A sequence of element means that means we are having 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These values are embedded in a square brackets. This is what we call as list. So in Python, it is called as list. So in Python, we will call it as list, and in C, C++, Java, it is called as array. So what is the difference between the array and the list? Let us discuss this thing. So in array, if we see here, we can able to store all homogeneous values. That means if you are storing an integer values, then in that array you can able to store only the integer values. That means 1, 2, 3, 4. You can't able to store strings in the integer values. This won't allowed in C, C++, and Java. But in Python, we can able to store whatever the data point or whatever the things you want. That means if you want to make an array like 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, in that array you can also add strings. You can also add strings. Also, you can able to add characters, and in a list you can also make another list. That means in this way. So whatever things you can able to add in a list in Python. Okay. So what is the structure of the list is like here the list will be enclosed with the square brackets. In that list, you will add some elements. That means if you want to insert any elements, you will use, okay, let me discuss that functions later. Let me explain the general thing about what actually a list is. Okay. Now what we will do is we will consider some elements 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. Now what you need to do is you need to store this list items in a variable. Now let me consider a variable called L. I will assign this value, assign this list to L. Okay, now we have an L, and that L have a list like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now what we need to do? So we are having a list, we are having a variable. So what is the use? So what is the use is like you can able to add the elements from the list. That means each element will have an index. By using that index value, you can able to access the elements from the list. So let me take another example like 5, 4, 2, 1, like 3, okay, and so on. Okay, let us consider from here. So what is the index value? 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, in Python, if you want to use a variable, then what you will do? You will simply write print, and in the and that means in parenthesis, you will place that variable. So what you will get if you want to print this a, you will simply write a here. So you will get an output of 10. But if you print a list, then you will get an output like this. But you don't want the entire list. What you want is like a specific element from the list. So for that reason, what you will do is like you will use the index values. The index value specifies the current position of the list items. So If you consider this list, this you can see this list, right? So each of the element will corresponded with some index value. That means this 5 is belongs to 0, that 4 base belongs to 1, and this 2 belongs to 2, 1 belongs 3, 4 on this 3 belongs to 4. So if we want to access this element, this particular element from the list, then what you will do is you will write the variable, and in the square brackets you will mention this thing, like what is this thing, like index. You will mention the index here, and you, if you print this thing, that means if you write like this, you will get the element 2. So if you want to access 3, let us assume if you want to access this 3, then what you will do, then you will write print, and which variable it is storing, it is stored in the L variable, right? So I placed L here, and which index it is stored, it is stored in index 4. So what you will get, you will get the output as 3. This is how the actual list items are used in Python. So if you want to, let me summarize this thing. If you want to create a list, then you will place a I'll here, that means a variable, and you will take some list items like 5, 4, 3, 1 in such a way, and you will use these values, and that will be stored in the variable L, and you place the values in L. So next, what you will do, if you want to print that items, you will simply write like this. If you have any indexes like 0, 1, 2, 3. Okay, sorry for the inconvenience, guys. Okay, if you want a specific item from the list, what you will do, you will use the index values, and you will print the values like L of 1. You will get value here. Then next, so if you want to add an element in the list, what you will do, you will simply create an empty list like this. And if you want to add an element, you will have a function called append. You'll have a function called append. By using this append function, you can able to add element to the list. That means you are having an empty list right here. And if you want to element 10 into that list, if you want to add that 10 element into that list, you will use like L dot append of L dot append of 10. So this what it will do means, you're having an empty array in the list, it will add 10. Okay. If you want to add another like 20, so what you will use, L dot append of 20. So it will, the 20 will be appended at the list of the list. So in such a way, you can able to add elements directly into a list. What it will do, 10, 20, and 30. Okay, fine. Now, so now what you have to do, if you want to use the elements, you can use simply an index values. And another function is called insert function. Insert. So what is the purpose insert function is, you can able to add element at specific position in the list. That means you, here you have 3 elements, but you want to add an element at the starting position at the index 0. So then what you will do, without this function, if it is without this function, then you can, that means you will make an like this is like start, assume it is a L1. If you want to add a item at the start of the list, what you will do is simply like create another L1, and that so you will append this L, you will append this L, so that it will at starting position, like it will have start 10, 20, and 30. So in such a way, it will get a append. But what you need is you don't need to create this thing. You don't want to add an element at the starting. Don't like this. So here, what you will use like insert function. This insert function will have two parameters. The first one is the index. The first one is like index, and the second one is what is the element you want to insert. That means here I want to insert a start. So assume list contains 10, 20, and 30. Now you want to insert at the start. Means you will use L dot insert of 0 and start. Okay. If you do like this, your list will become start 10, 20, and 30. Okay. Next function is like pop function. So this pop function is used to pop the last element in the list. That means if you write like L dot pop, it it will accept one argument, and by default it will take out the last element from the list. That means if you write like this, what you will get is like equals to start 10 and 20. So this 30 will get removed, and if you again like this, you'll get start and 10. If you want to remove this 10, you will again write L dot pop. Okay, but you don't want to delete the last element. You want to get a specific index value. That means an element which is in a specific index. So in case you will use whatever the index you want to delete. Let us assume I want to delete this element, this element. So I will write L dot pop of 0. This will delete the last. This will delete the element which is placed at the 0th index. So this is what we come with after delete the element at 0th index. So what we have discussed up to, we have learned about append function and insert function and pop function. So why we use this append function is like if you want to insert any element to our list, then you will use that append function. If you want to add any element in a specific position, then use insert function. If you want to delete any element, then you will use pop function. Actually, this pop function basically uses for index values. That means if you want to delete an element at a particular index, then you will use this pop function. If you want to remove a particular element, that means your list has 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. If a list having 5 elements, then in that you just want to delete this third element. So then what you will use? So this is where the remove function into picture. Remove function. This remove function is used to delete a specific element. You have mentioned in that parameter that element will get removed. That means L dot remove of the 3. This will make a new list that doesn't contain the third element. Means we have mentioned this 3, right? So that element will get removed from list. And we are also having another function called extend. So actually the purpose of these two is similar, but there is a change in both of the functions. Append function is used to add a single element, but this extend function is used to add more than one element. But you have to mention the parameter in a list. Okay, let me show you that one. You're having a list that is consisting of something like 0. You want to extend, that means you want to add more than one element. So I just want to add 1 and 2 to this list. Okay. Now what you will do? You will simply write a dot extend of a dot extend of 1 and 2. So, okay, here, remember one thing, you here when using extend, you have to mention the elements within the brackets. That means you have to pass the list as an argument. Then it will give 0, 1, 2 as output. So if you print after extending, if you print A, then it will give this value. So this is how the list is differ. And also there is one thing I forgot to tell you. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, don't assume these things. Assume 1, 4, 6, 8, 9, 10. We are having indexes like 1, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And there is another index. This is what the negative index is: -1, -2, -3, -4, -5, -6. So these are the negative indexes. These are the positive indexes. You can use any of the values. You can use any of the index values. So if you want to uh, draw the elements from the last, then you can get these negative values. That means a of -1 will give you 10. A of -4, that means minus the element is like 6. It will give you 6 as an. In such a way, you can able to use positive indexes plus negative indexes. Now, there is an interesting concept called slicing. In the list, there is an interesting concept called slicing. Actually, the slicing will be visible like this thing. Things here, what we have done before, here we simply mention the index values. So what is the difference between these two is this thing is used to specify the range of values, Okay, actually this thing has parameters. What are the parameters? The first one is the start, and the second one is end. The third one is step size. We have already heard this thing in the previous classes. When you're using a range and we are having a step size. So similarly, this thing will also will work in such a way. Consider a list. I'm taking simple lists only so that you can able to understand this thing. So you are having the 7 values in the list. You just want to access elements from 0 to 4. Okay. Then what you have specified, your slicing operator will contain the start value as 0, because starting from the 0 index, right? 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you will start with the 0 index, then semicolon. So what value you have to quite, you have to print from up to 4, right? So you will specify this index, because the slicing operator will consider from start to end -1 elements. So this is what the ending. You want the end minus elements. You will get the end -1 element. So you will mention the 5 here. What is the step size? The step size is 1. So if we use this in before of the slicing operator, this will give you output like 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. This is the slicing operator will work. Let me give you the another example. Here you have 3 cases. The first case is like, if it doesn't specify this value, if it doesn't specify this value, it will by default consider it as 0. Okay, by default value, if you didn't mention that one, is 0. If it doesn't mention the ending value, if it doesn't mention this ending value, by default it will take the value as n, that means the length of the list. Okay, and the next case is 0. Okay, 0 and n. you're taking the entire array, it doesn't specify the step size, right? It doesn't specify the step size. So by default, it will consider the step size as by default. By default, the step size will consider as 1. So if it doesn't specify the initial value, it considers as 0. If it doesn't specify the ending value, it considered as n. If it doesn't specify the step size value, consider as 0. Let me give you an example here. If you print like this, it will print the elements from 1 to 5. That means like this. Okay. If you doesn't specify the last element, the last value, that means ending value, it will print all the values which are starting from 0. Okay, I think we are having an array like this. Okay. Next, if you doesn't specify this value, that means step size value, it will by default take it as 1 and it will be print like this. Let us assume if we want to, so we are having an this like array, like we are having this array, right? If you want elements from 2 to 5, so now that means like 2 to 6. If you want elements from 2 to 6, then you will specify 2 here and 7. This will print 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. In such a way, this slicing operator will work. And also, you can also specify negative values in the start and end value based on your needs. Okay. So I'm taking this. I'm taking this all the references from GFG. So if you want any notes of these things, you can refer that website and search for Python lists. You can able to get the notes of like this, notes about this class. Okay. Next. Okay, let's discuss about list comprehensions. List comprehension. So what actually this list comprehension is? Okay, let me tell you this thing. We are having a normal traditional lists. That means you are using a traditional lists, and if you want to print all the elements in the list, you will use like this. Or okay, I will give you the better example. For I in range job, if you want to insert 0 to 4 numbers into a list called L, then what you will do means you will initially create an empty list and we will keep on add the elements into this list. You will keep on add elements into this. Then if you print L, you will get like 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. In such a way, you will get the output. But what you will need, you want to write all these values in a single line. So if you want to write all these values in a single line, then you come with a concept like list comprehensions. So list comprehensions makes the users very easy to write a long programs a single line or a double line. Okay. Okay, let me give you a small example. You are creating a list, right? Before that, I will go with syntax. The syntax of list comprehension. Here, what you will mention is like expression. Initially, you write the expression here. Then, so what is the need of then item? This is where the value stored in this item. Then what you will do in this can be anything like range or a list or any iterable item, any iterable item. Okay, this is actual syntax of list comprehension. I will give you a small example of this thing. I will give you a simple example. 0, 1, 2, 3. We want to create this list by using a single line. Then what you will do initially, you will declare a list variable. Then what you will here, I'm taking an expression. I'm taking an expression is I just want only single element, right? Then I will use x, only x here, x for I in range. Uh, For I in range from up to what number we want? Up to 5. So if you print this L, it will give you list values. So, okay, here you can able to see, right? L equals to, this is what the expression. Here, I don't want to make any complex thing squaring and multiplying with another number. So I just simply write x here. That means whatever the value it stores, it will pass this value to x. Whatever value it stores, this I stores, it will pass the value to x. And from that x, it will create all the values which comes with the which comes from the range value. That means 0 to 4. Then it will create a list. This is what the list comprehension. Okay. If you want to make any operations, give me a minute. Hmm. Now, if you want to make any operations in the list, that means I'm simply what I done means I just created a list that contains consisting of 0 to 4 elements. But I want to check whether the given number is even or odd. If the number is even, then only I need to append the number into our list. So what I need to do? Okay, I just want even numbers. I just want to verify the even numbers in the given range. So I will take a list and what I will write is like expression. You can take whatever the variable you want. This is what the expression. And for I in range, for I in range, up to what number? Up to 6. I want that up to 6 means I will write 7. Now, here what it will print like 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But I want to verify the even numbers. Whatever the even numbers is there, then only it will assign that value to x. So what I will do is simply I will write the condition here. If I mod 2 equals to 0, mod 2 equals to 0, then only the value will be stored in the x. So I get means like if I print this list, if I print this list, I will get 0, 2, 4, 6. In such a way, I will get all the elements, all the even elements. So what you will do if you want any odd elements, that means you up to 7, that means up to range 6. What are the odd elements? Now you have to think. Simply, I will create a list and I will write the expression here for I in range of 7 if I mod 2 not equals to 0. So this case will take care of the odd numbers. If you print the list, then you will get all the odd numbers 1, 3, 5. Okay, 1, 3, 5. That's it. So you will get this code. Okay, let me tell you some more examples to understand more clearly. Mm, Here in before I have told about this list, right? List concept. In the list, you can able to add any items. You can able to add any items like lists also. You can able to add list in the list. So if you want to make any two-dimensional list, if you want to make any two-dimensional list, what you will do? You will simply create a list. So in the list, you will make another list. Okay, here I'm taking 1, 2, 3 in the first list. This is one list, and 4, 5, 6. This is another list. 7, 8, 9. This is the another list. I have taken one long list, and in that list I have added three more lists. If you visualize this thing in this way, if you visualize this thing in this way, you can you can see this is like two-dimensional matrix. This is like two-dimensional like matrix. So this is how you can able to make two-dimensional matrices by using a simple concept called list. So how can you access an variable, that means a value from an inner list? Here the what this value is, what is the index value is 0. This index value is 1. This index value is 2. But for each list, they have their own index values. So for this list, it is having 0, 1, 2. For this list, it is having 0, 1, 2. For this list, it is having 0, 1, 2. So if you want to access this element, this particular 6 element, then what you will print? Simply will print of L of 1 of 2. This will print the 6 value. 6, 6 value. If you want to print this element, we will simply write print of 2 of 2. This will print 9 value. So this is how you are going to use two-dimensional matrices by using a list. Okay. Now, if you want to create a dimensional list, what you will write? You know that we will take input like this, right? In Python, we will use to take input like this. So I want to make a two-dimensional matrix, which is a 3 by 3 size. So what I will do, I will write a for loop for I. Initially, I will create a empty list here. Then I will write for loop for in range. So I want to create 3 by 3 matrix, right? So I will use like this. And for j in range. So this is what the concept of nested for loops. I'll explain this thing clearly. Okay. You want to add an element. You want to add an element in that list item. So you will simply write L of 1. That means I. Initially, you will what index you will consider? You will consider these elements, right? These index values, right? 0, 1, 2. These element values are called I, and each having two values, right? This is j. Okay. Now L of j equals to whatever the element you want to insert. You will write that thing int of input. That means you are taking dynamically and placing the values list. So here what you will do is, here you want to make an empty list that is consisting of all zeros, right? So what you will do is 0 into 3. Or you can also use like this 0, 0, 0. You want this thing into 3 times. You can also initialize an empty matrix such a way also. Okay. After taking all the inputs, what you will get, whatever the elements, that means you are having a console like this. You will write the input like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. So after adding this input, you will get a matrix. If you print the L value, you will get a two-dimensional matrix like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So here, how many lines I have used here? Here I have used 3 lines. But by using simple list comprehension, I can able to write this entire code in a single line. Okay, let me explain that one. You want to create a matrix, right? Matrix equals to, what I do is I will use this J for, okay, you can place whatever the thing you want. I am assuming it as for J in range of 3. I am taking direct values, J in range of 3. Next, I have closed this thing. Here, one list is completed. Here, I'm adding list to this thing. And next thing is like how many times it has to iterate for I in range of 3. So I will clearly explain this thing. And this is nothing but an expression. In that expression, you have write, this is what an expression. In that expression, you have written the same, that means another list comprehension. So in that list comprehension, this is an expression. Okay, let me divide this into subparts. So what is the first list comprehension for I, for J in range of 3, right? For J in range of 3. So what you will get? What you will get is simply like 1, 2, 3. So how many times it has to run? This for I in range of 3. How many times it has to run? Again 2 times. This means we have by using this for loop, we initially use one iteration, we will get 1, 2, 3. Will in one iteration, in the first iteration, you will get this list 1, 2, 3. In the second iteration, you are going to get 2, 4, 5, 6. This is in second iteration. The third iteration, you will get 7, 8, 9. So this is what actually are. This is a list. This is a list. This is a list. So we encomposed this list in another list, right? So that means this list has to be in an, sorry, this list has to be in another list. So what it defines, in a long list, we have an sub list. Sublist. In such a way, you can able to create a two-dimensional matrices by using a list comprehension. Okay. So let me give you another example of list comprehensions. List comprehensions. We are talking topic only. Now, if you want to, if you have a string, if you have a string like geek for geese. So what you need to do is you want to make a list consisting of each character in such a way O and R and so on. You want to make a list is consisting of each character in that string. Okay. Now what you will do? So whenever I give this question, the first thing that comes into your mind is you will create a list, right? You will create an empty list. Next, you will run for loop for I in, that means like geek for geeks, for I in geek for geeks. Now, what this I store is each character. At first iteration, it will store G. At the second iteration, it will store E. At the third iteration, it will store E. At the fourth iteration, it will store K. In such a way, the for loop will work. Now, what you do, you have to store that each character in a list, right? So L dot append of I. So this is how you will going to make a list of characters. What if you print this thing, you will get this array. You will get this type of, okay. Now I want to write this code by using list comprehension. The same thing I want to write by using a list comprehension. So what I will do, initially I will create a list, right? Okay. Here, what I need to mention? Starting, I need to mention an expression. So what is the expression here? I will take it as character. CH, okay? For I, E, what I want? Geek for geeks. Geek for geeks. Okay. This is how that each character gonna be stored in this H. That means list. Now, what is the output of this? If you print this list, you will get the same output what I have mentioned in the question. You will get the same output. This is how the list comprehension used when you are having a string or a list or any other thing. Now, let me do the expression thing also. Here, I want to let us consider I want to spare and every element which is coming from the for loop. That means you want to spare all the elements like 0, comma 1 square, comma 2 square, comma 3 square, comma 4 square. This is what I have to do. Now what you will do to achieve this thing, you will create a list here and you will use the for loop for I in range of up to 5. Okay. Now for each element will be stored in I. Then you want to append that square value. L dot append of I square means you will use 2 stars and 2 here. This is gonna square the element and that will be added into the list. So if you print this L value, you are going to get that value. Okay. Now I want to write this thing by using list comprehension. In before list comprehension, you have used only X as an expression. But here what you have to do is you have to make an expression here. What is the expression? Squaring of each number. And the for loop is like as it is for I range of 5. So that each value is stored and it is get squared and output will be like 0, 1, 4, 9 and 16, squaring the each number. This is how the list comprehensions will work. And okay. And I forgot to tell you about another thing. You can also specify the conditions here. Let me tell you that. Okay. Try to understand this one. Odd if I mod 2 not equals to 0, else it is in the same line or not including semicolons and indentation. I'm entering this long one in the same line, else odd. Sorry, else even. Next, what I will do for this is the continuation only. For I in range of 5. I'm closing this thing. So what it will do, it will assign the E value and it will gonna check if I mod 2 not equals to 0. Initially, we will get I value is 0. So 0 is not equal to, it is condition false. It will store that in the list. Even will get appended. Next, I value, the value is 1 right now. I value 1. Now what it will do, it will check 1 mod 2 not equals to 0. Yes, 1 mod 2 equals to what you will get, but so 1 is it is not equals to 0, right? It is not equals to 0. So what it will get appended, odd will get appended. So odd. Next, what's the value of I right now? The value of I is 2. So 2 mod 2 is equals to 0. So 2 mod 2 is equals to 0. So it is equals to 0, right? The condition is getting false. It will append the even value. Okay, in such a way, it will do all the value and finally you will get the output. So this is what the list comprehensions are. In a way, we will use the list comprehensions in Python programming. It is very mandatory to learn about this list and list comprehensions in programming. Okay. So this is all about today. Thank you. Thank you for listening. So, okay, today I'm going to leave. Tomorrow I will tell you about some of the more topics like tuples, etc. Okay, then. Thank you. Bye bye.